Bang! Neevesknives. I'm Jared, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Live on Neevesknives. How's everybody doing tonight? I see we have a bunch of people already in the chat. So I got a bunch of stuff we're going to pull up, things that are available or things that recently dropped that we're going to talk a little bit about. We have a few different subjects we're going to talk about today. I'll give it a few minutes for people to kind of come in here. Shout out to everybody who did show up early, though. I do appreciate it. For one thing, really quick, because I want to talk about it, the Vision FG is available for pre-order right now. And if you guys haven't heard me speak about this one, so the Wii version, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But the CIVIVI version is even better, like quite a bit better. And the reason why is because the way the locking system works, and by the way, it's linked down in the description for you guys if you guys do want to pre-order it. It'll be dropping soon, like anytime. But the reason why the CIVIVI one's better is a few reasons. One, the whole deployment on the Wii version, the titanium version, the way the lock works, it makes it to where the detent is okay, but it's not super strong, right? Here, let me just pull this out really quick. It's not super strong, and the hole's kind of tight to the scales, right? So you got to kind of wedge your finger in there, and yeah, it works. Don't get me wrong, it works. But you don't get that snap from the detent like you want, right? Well, with the new one, it has thumb studs and it allows you to get that snap that you want. So the type of action you might look at this and expect, you get from the CIVIVI one. So that's just one thing. Now, the next thing is the clip. The clip's placed in a better spot. So this one, it's on the spine, which just isn't bad, but it's also just not, it's not common. So you're not used to using a clip like this. And the way this works is there's a couple different ways you do it. You put it in like this, and then you just kind of turn it sideways. So right now it's flat in my pocket. So in order to pull it out, you kind of just put your fingers in there and grab it like this and pull it out. You can face it either way, so right or left hand. I heard people were saying that they were putting theirs in their back pockets, but now the CIVIVI version, it's on just like a regular clip. Maybe I should pull up. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna grab this one so you guys can see. See, the clip is just on. You guys can see that, right? Yeah. So you see the clip's just like a regular clip. So that's another good thing. Now, another good thing, or better thing, I should say, is that the back lock that you see right there on the Wii version, it's just a nub, basically. There's nothing to it. I'm gonna pull this off so you guys can see this. It's just a little nub. Okay, well, the CIVIVI version is taller, has jimping, and it's more squared off on the top end. So this is like kind of slick a little bit. So you kind of got to hook your finger in there. The CIVIVI version is just flat. So it's kind of like a shark lock, literally just like a shark lock. The next thing is, at least from the ones I tried, this thing doesn't pop out. So on this, he wanted to make it easy to access so you could easily clean it or whatever. Well, the CIVIVI one doesn't do that. And the thing is the problem is that every once in a while you're fidgeting, that'll pop out. So it prevents it on that one. So a lot of cool things. And then the micarta just adds the texture, feels good in the hand. It's super comfortable. So, and obviously the price, right? Because these things are not cheap, but the CIVIVI ones, 79 bucks, not too shabby for Nitro V Steel. I'm very happy with that. So really, really cool. Dukes of Hazzard with the 2 bones just ordered a Kaiser Dukes. It was 50% off of Amazon. Yes, there's a lot of Kaisers. I'm not sure all the ones that are available right now for on a deal, but there's been a bunch of them. I was checking them out the other day, like some incredible prices. So yeah, definitely check out Amazon. I have an Amazon store down. The Neevesknives store down in the description is Amazon. So if you guys just click that, you guys can look right there. Then it helps the channel out. Now, Knife Nut 69. Shout out to him. He's been a member for 13 months. Yeah, bro. Yeah, broke that year, baby. What? Stas at 23 is in the house. Shout out to Stas at 23. Definitely go and subscribe to him. Yeah, I posted a bunch. Yeah, I did. I seen you. You did post some videos talking about the Kaisers, how they were on a deal. And I was thinking about swooping in and making a post myself. I was like, no, I'm gonna leave his post alone. I don't want to steal it because I didn't even know until I seen it on your thing. So I was thinking about making a post about it, but I didn't. But yeah, very, very cool because man, there was some incredible deals, especially like the way Stasa showed. He was showing some like 3V and 4V for like 50, 60, 70 bucks or something. Crazy prices. So, which is awesome. Now we do have some more things that are available right now. So let me, and then there's somebody I want to kind of complain about here in a second. But really quick, let me pull this up. Let me get rid of that. Come on. Okay, so if you look here, the Giant Mouse Ace Rio is available. I have everything I'm talking about is linked down in the description. Also, if you look to the right side, what do you see? There's another JACKWOLF knife available. We're going to talk about them here in just a little while. But there's at least the pink ones available. There was the purple and pink ones available a little while ago. I made a post. Obviously, the purple one's gone now. I did hear there's some rolling around on some other sites. So we'll talk about that more later on. But just so you know, right now, there's still one available, at least one, there may be more, at GP, link down in the description. But the Ace Rio is also available, and it's, I got it right here. It's Giant Mouse's new knife in Magna Cut. They're running the Magna Cut just a little bit on the softer side. It's not horrible, but 61, 62, you guys know we want to see 63, 64. I'm not too mad at it. It is the Italian made one. And, you know, I'm happy they didn't do it at 59 to 60, to be honest. And 60, 60, 61, 62 is not horrible. Like, it's not horrifying. But there is a major difference in edge retention. And even my cut test showed it. Like, it was pretty significant, the edge retention difference between 61, 62 to 63 to 64. And you know, with a knife like this, you're not looking for the toughness, so you want the edge retention. However, like I said, I think it'll be just fine. I think most people won't even notice, and it's a solid knife, you know, obviously made in Italy, super good action. This one's the denim micarta, and I gotta say, the denim looks pretty good. You can really tell it's actually denim micarta. I like that when I see that because a lot of micartas are just blue micarta. This, at least it seems like it's real denim. I could be wrong. Stasa says, I'm cleaning my Giant Mouse right now. There you go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's good. And you can see I flick it left-handed. I like that because there's a lot of times I'm doing something with my right hand, so I want to fidget with the lefty. Arrowhead says, I've been waiting 2 weeks to tell Jared that story, and he totally missed it. I'm going to up a clip now. I gotta find the story. Where's this story at? I'm not. Oh, there we go. All right. He says, was in line at the DMV, and the gal working had a Neevesknives. Bullshit. So I get called up, and right before I flick my PM2 and go bang, I realized it was an MK shirt. Michael Kors. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Yeah, probably wouldn't have been too good to whip that out in the bank. Jared, what's your thoughts on Spyderco's S110V? I think it's great as long as all you care about is edge retention. You know, if you don't care about edge stability as far as toughness goes, you know, because it's not a tough steel, it can microchip. The biggest thing is understanding when you sharpen it. And I had to learn this. Everybody I've seen had to learn this. A lot of people have trouble sharpening it, but here's the trick. When you sharpen it, just make sure when you're doing your burr removal, you don't plan on doing the burr removal on the stone. You might fatigue the burr a little bit, but the burr removal is going to be done on the strop. For some reason, the burr does not come off on the stone. Like, and it's frustrating because you'll think something's wrong. Like the steel is soft or something. Like, what is going on? This burr just will not get removed. As soon as you hit it on the strop, it pops right off. So that's one thing to know. But yeah, it's a great steel as long as it's edge retention you care about the most, you know, and as long as you're not going to be hitting staples and nails and things like that. If you're just going to be cutting through basic things, rope, wood, cardboard, plastic, S110V is great. And Spyderco does a good job with that. I think Spyderco is the only like real company doing it. I could be wrong about that, but I do think Tucson did a little bit with it, but we don't see that too often. And I like all steels. So that's the thing is I love steels in general. Um, so let's see what else do we have here. I did want to talk a little bit about sharpening here in a minute. I have a sharpening video that I'm working on. I'm working on that pro tips and tricks. Tomorrow I'm filming that. I'm not sure if I'll have it edited in time to have it uploaded. I'm gonna try to have that be the video for tomorrow, but no promises. I've been busting my ass on some content. I got some really good stuff coming up soon. I think every couple of days I got like a decently sized video with a lot of work going into them. Spyderco also makes their Maximet really brittle, but that's the price we pay for high edge retention. I'd actually suggest S90V for high edge retention that can withstand some use. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think Maximet, yeah, same thing, you know, falls under basically the same umbrella. The beautiful thing with the Maximet is how long it holds its working edge, but it's not going to be for toughness. And don't, I'm not trying to make it seem like it's like super brittle and it's just going to microchip, you know, like crazy. That's not the case. As long as you're using it on basic stuff, you'll be fine. It's if you're hard using it, if you're using it with impact and things like that. But yeah, S90V does have some more toughness, so that might be the better route for a lot of people. And it's stainless, so which Maximet is not. Got my Ultratech Frankenstein on me tonight. Going to be my main beater for a while. Oh yeah. Okay, so what was the next thing? Is it in here? Oh yeah, right here. Bam. So also at GP Knives, we have the Tactile Maverick in titanium. Now, I do have the full review, and if you guys haven't seen that, go and watch that. I also did the shop tour with the Tactile guys at their shop, which was awesome. They were absolute gents. We had a great time. But the Tactile, while I like the knife, I do like the knife. I did have some little issues, mostly to do with the scales. I'm just not a big fan of these scales. They're too lightweight for me, a little too flimsy. I'm not a big fan of the action, but I do know that the titanium one I do like more because it's more solid. So I would say if you're going to get one, I personally would recommend getting the titanium one over this. This is basically like, it's almost like FRN, even though it's some sort of micarta. It's like a paper micarta. But to me, it's just too flimsy, too fragile. But the knife's great. USA made. It is in Magna Cut, 63 to 64 HRC. And I did do an edge retention test on it, and it did phenomenal. So if you guys want to check that video out, definitely check that out. Awesome knife and awesome company too. I got to give them credit, man. They are a really cool company. And I have no doubt that we're going to see some awesome stuff coming from them in the future as well. Daniel Cat coming in hot with the 20 bones. What did I miss? Everyone say happy birthday to Bama Knife Guy. Happy birthday, Bama. I guess I should have known that. Yeah, happy birthday to Bama Knife Guy. And also happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And yes, GP Knives is good shit. I love that we're an affiliate with them, or that we have an affiliate links through them. It definitely helps the channel out massively when you guys use that link. Thank you, Bob Smith. But yeah, I'm very happy to work with them. AJ says, what are the main performance differences between S110V and Maximet? Anyone can tune in. Not much. Just, I mean, as far as edge retention goes, is that what you mean? Maximet's going to outperform it usually by a little bit, but not by much. Like, they're really, really close. S110V is going to have more corrosion resistance. But yeah, and all in all, really, like, I would say the sharpening is where you're really going to notice any difference. And like I said, that's just got to do with the S110V with the burr. Maximet is not as bad. Maximet's burr removes pretty good. What weight on the Giant Mouse Rio? What's the weight on it? Let's see here. So the weight on the Giant Mouse, it's light. So the Giant Mouse Rio, 2.9 ounces. 2.9 ounces. Not too shabby considering it's like what is it? Let's see right here. 3.3 inch blade. So almost it's basically a 3.5 inch blade. I would have said 3.5. It feels like a 3.5 inch blade. So I really want something in magnet cut really bad to see how it is. Okay, well, here, I got another one for you guys then. You want something in magnet cut? I got something for you. Check this out. Let me just punch it in. Right. We have the PROTEC PT in magnet cut, 63 to 64 HRC. You guys know I picked one up at Blade Show. They have a bunch of different versions here, as you can see, all in stock right now, which I'll tell you what, man, for a long time, these things were impossible to find on a dealer. So I do have them linked down in the description. Like I said, the magnet cuts heat treated between 63 and 64. If you want to know how the edge retention is on magnet cut is 63 to 64, go and watch my cut test on the Maverick. But Protec PT, I got to talk to the Protec owner when buying this. He was really cool. I personally love the Protec PT. My first one, actually, I got from Stasa23. He gifted one to us, had it for a good while, wound up regrinding it, then sending it into the Protec factory to get a blade replacement. And now they have them in magnet cut, which is dope. Aluminum handles, probably the snappiest little auto you're ever gonna have. It's so snappy. Cracks out there. And their clips are inset with flat screws. Really good clips. These are awesome USA made knives right here. I would love, and I said this to dude at Protec. I said, man, why don't you guys do a manual version? He said that Strider won't let them. And I'm not gonna say like he said this, but I had the feeling that it had to do with that, you know, they wouldn't want them to do it better, you know. So if they did a manual version, it might make, you know, them look a little bit bad because they would do it so good that then it's like, why even buy the Strider one if you can get this one over here for better and less money, right? I know that's the way I'd go. Jared, who got money? Arnold El Mamba versus TW Price Dawn. Which one would I pick between the Arno El Mamba and TW Price Dawn? Ooh, that's tough, man. The TW Price Dawn is badass. I do really like it. I also like the El Mamba. I'm gonna let you guys take that one away. I can't really. I mean, the El Mamba is more expensive, so I mean, if you want to save money, just, you know, go with the other one. But yeah. The El Mama's badass. So Johnny B says, do they hit harder as they break in? I bought one through your link. Why is yours not hitting hard? Just oil it. Throw a little oil in there. But yeah, that's actually true though, to some extent, Johnny. And the reason why is because, and some people think like that they're going to get less and less, but no, because the more it breaks in, the less resistance it has in the pivot, and the smoother it gets, and the more you use it, the more polished it gets. So it winds up just getting harder and harder. That spring is made to last an incredible long time. And a lot of people think, which I always thought this too, so I'm not talking shit, that you should leave them open so the spring doesn't wear out, but it's actually designed to be put away closed. So the El Mamba is a better knife. I have both. Listen to Stasa. Listen to Stasa. I don't have either one. I've tried both of them, but I do not have them. And I didn't get to test them long enough to really give a real opinion. But I will say this: the Mamba I had did fail on me, but that's, you know, it was a fluke. It was a lemon. No, it hits hard now. Okay, yeah, then yeah, it'll just get better. Make sure you oil it and stuff. You know, not over oil it, but oil it up. Full size Sharp by Designs Evo Typhoon drops Wednesday at DLT. Man, I wish I was an affiliate with DLT, but yeah, that's awesome, man. I'd love to get one. I wish hopefully they wind up at one of the dealers I buy knives through, because I would love to get one of those. I seen them at Blade Show, and I think it was Brian Nadal I was talking to. He said that they were going to be exclusives to, I think, DLT. And I was like, oh, fuck, it looks like I'm out. Not that I wouldn't buy one, but it's just, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's like impossible for me to get a hold of those guys. Tyler is a young designer. Arno is a knife maker. That's true. That's true. One's a designer, one's a custom knife maker. Spring steel isn't harmed by staying compressed. It's the cycle count that matters more. Half the springs in your car's engines are compressed right now. Bang, bang. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about is actually, you know what? We're going to talk about this other thing first because this guy, man, he's pissing me off. And you know, I used to kind of like him, but Ray the Sharpener, man, oh man. I hate to sit here and talk bad about somebody, but my goodness, is this guy just like bullshitting people with his videos? And I see it over and over and over and over. He's using the best sharpness tester and he's cheating. And I mean, like, not even like trying to cover up the cheat, right? It's just the audience doesn't know. And I've actually left comments multiple times, like saying, like, dude, I've never seen you use this tester the right way. You always cheat on it. So I know he's had to have seen it. I've seen many other people saying it, but it's like he's just trying to fool people. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch my video where I talk about the best sharpness tester. Now you can accurately use it, but you can also easily cheat with it. And he's an example of somebody who always cheats it, always. And he does all these videos where he takes a razor blade and tries to get a knife as sharp as the razor blade, but both of them he fucking cheated with. So it just doesn't, the numbers are never accurate. And it makes it to where it's like, man, you know, I used to like watching his sharpening videos. I thought he was kind of funny, but now it just makes it to where it's like, man, I don't trust anything coming out of his mouth now, because it's like, if he did it a few times and then learn like, oh, I didn't realize I was messing up, I'd be like, cool, you know, I'd still trust him. But the fact that he just keeps on making these videos over and over and over and over and just cheating the test, lying to the audience, it just makes me like, man, I don't believe anything from this guy now. And I hate to, like I said, call out another knife guy. I'm sure he's a good knife sharpener. But then it's like, why do you have to cheat if you're a good knife sharpener? Like, I just don't understand that. And I'm not saying he's a bad knife sharpener, but you know, I feel like you want, from my perspective, I want to give the most honest and best results, even when I'm doing, oh shit, I didn't mean to get off of it. Let me pull it back up. Oh, I guess I did get rid of it. Anyways, so even when I mess up, like in my live sharpenings, I say it like, hey, you know, I messed up at the tip or something like that, or, you know, I need to work on this a little bit more to get it, you know, to get that side better or whatever. Nobody's perfect. So it's just crazy to me to sit there and want people to believe fake numbers. And then you have these people maybe buying that thing and then doing it and wondering why their numbers aren't, you know, the way that his are. Well, if they do, if they test their edges the way he does, and they probably will come out that way. But I'm talking about insanity. I should just pull up one of his videos. I hate to give him some clout, but maybe I should pull one up to show you guys. And Daniel Cad with the 5 members. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And anybody who's a Patreon, if you have not entered that giveaway, make sure you enter it. We're going to be pulling the winners this week. So make sure you are entered if you are a Patreon. Like I said, this week we'll be pulling it. Drinking game. Anytime sharpening is mentioned, drink. You guys be getting fucked up. I was actually going to talk about some edges over here. I had some a little drawing set up. I don't know if we'll get to it or not. What's up, SC? Appreciate you joining. I'm a bad knife sharpener. I'll give it someone else before I trust myself. I just, you know, I don't know. I just don't seeing somebody sit there and try, because it's over and over and over and over. It's not just like once or twice, like it's over and over and over, and he's like just deceiving the audience. And you know, like I understand you know, being boastful or, you know, like goofing around, or, you know, I don't know. I just don't get why you'd want to sit there and cheat and lie constantly so much, to the extent that, you know, and you see the comments, a lot of people believe it. Yeah, they're super fake. Just doing it for the clicks also is pushing people to buy crappy pull-through sharpers. I know that too. And I didn't even get into that, right? I didn't even get into that. It's because I do understand to some extent, some people, it might be good for them to have a pull through because they're never going to be able to use anything else. And fine, that's fine. Like, I would warn against it if you have the capabilities or the money to buy a better system. But let's say that's all you have, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But I would lean towards I would lean people towards things that are just they're better, especially if it's the same price. But yeah, it is just for clicks. And the thing is that you could do it legit and get the clicks. That's the thing. That's what's messed up to me, is that you don't have to BS to get the clicks. You can get the clicks by being honest. You do not have to lie or bullshit to get clicks. And for anybody who thinks you do, that's just crazy. You don't. You can be honest and get just as many clicks. Yeah, like I said on your video, I always thought my edges were dog shit because my numbers weren't as low as most of them guys. Right. It's because they're cheating. They're cheating. Their numbers aren't that low. Their numbers are damn sure not that low. I seen one he did earlier, and it was like on a razor blade, and he got a 0. A 0. Come on. I got my asshole merit badge. Okay. Oh, I lost my cool badge. Had to happen sometime. How sad. Now we got to get him on live. He wouldn't jump on a live with me. But I'd let him on. I'd hate to be mean to the guy though, but what time is it? All right. So the MSI, I do have the testings coming up. I know I keep talking about it. I got to finish it, so that'll be coming up soon. But what I want to talk about is I did a post the other day on one that was available at Blade HQ, and I think it was $330, something like that. And somebody was bitching saying, what happened to $250? And other people were commenting saying, hey, I bought mine at Blade Show for $250. I paid $325 at Blade Show, not at Blade Show Atlanta, but in Blade Show Texas. That's what they were selling them for. And I remember before I got there, Microtech was saying $250 a piece, and I was like, man, that's a good price. Like, I was super happy about it. Then when I got there and I bought a bunch of them, some to give away and whatnot, they said $325 or whatever a piece. I was like, what? Like $315 or $320, $325. I was like, whatever, I bought it. But I don't know what's going on with the price. I don't know why they're switching it. I don't know if maybe the $250 is only Blade Show price, and to go to the dealers have to make their money. So maybe that's the case. But just don't be mad if you want to get one and you see it and you have to pay, that little bit more to get one. It just might be the cost to play the game. So just know that. And they seem like they're going to be starting to get more and more available. So if you have been wanting to get one, like I said, I linked one the other day on Blade HQ. It was the partial serrated one. That's the thing, though. It was the partial serrated one. So Chris Jones with the 2 bones. Yeah, just need a good nickname for clicks. I would say you just need a good thumbnail and title. Like, you don't have to bullshit. You just need a good idea. That's the thing. It's just good ideas and good thumbnails, good titles, clear pictures, things like that. David Goodridge with the 5 bones. Is this an old video or did Jared shave? This is an old one, Dave. This is an old one. You're back in time. Maybe he just doesn't know, and I think Jared is definitely qualified to let him know. Yeah, I think he knows. And the reason why I think he knows is because he's had entirely way too many comments where, like, you could say, like, oh, I didn't see the comments from that video. Okay, but how about like 40 videos, right? He has seen the comments. He has seen people multiple times talking shit, saying you're cheating the test, you're cheating the test. I even left a couple myself, and I even told people in the comment, like, if you want to see what I'm talking about, go and watch my video where I explain exactly what these guys are doing with this tester, because it's so, when it's so obvious. Like, it's clear as day. So clear. So it's like, it's not even a wonder or, like I'm thinking this, like it's a fact. It's a fact. He's cheating. Hogue, Deca Magnica, or Spyderco Manix 2. I'd say if you're going to get the Hogue Deca, make sure you get the original goat scales. if you don't plan on getting the original goat scales, just go with the Mannix 2. Go with the Mannix 2. But if you want the Hogue Deca, just make sure you get the original goat scales. Then I would say they're, you know, pretty even. It depends on what you're wanting too. Like if you want a lightweight knife, then obviously go shout out to Original Goat. If you guys want original goat scales, check out my link down in the description. You can get 15% off. But the original goat scales massively improves this knife while still keeping it super duper light, especially with the aluminum scales. With titanium scales, they'll be a little bit heavier, but it's still going to be a lightweight knife. The Mannix 2 is not a lightweight. So that's the big difference, you know, aside from the blade shape and everything. But like this to me is a knife I throw in basketball shorts when I'm in jogging pants. When me and Kara take hikes and walks, I carry something like this, or maybe the CIVIVI Cubit, because this is also another lightweight 2.5 ounces. Whew, it's so light. Really good knife too. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. Does he use aftershave, and what kind? He does use aftershave. But I mostly use now my my Tiche Hanley, so that has like moisturizers and stuff. But as far as like aftershave goes, fuck, I forget the stuff I used to use. I can't even think of the name of it right now. But the Tiche Hanley is the stuff I use now because it has like a super serum in there for like it's like just a moisturizer for like anti-aging. It's got like eye creams, and it's a good moisturizing system, but it's a system, so it's like you do it in a row, and it's really good. And they're not even that much money. Jared, what's your honest opinion on VOSTEED? Because I seriously grabbed my VOSTEED raccoon. I think VOSTEED's dope. I don't have no problems with them. I know they've had a problem with the button lock raccoon. I did see that they, at least at Blade Show, they had some new versions with the liner button lock, so it's not a regular button lock. So now they're not gonna have to worry about the failing issues they had before. So, you know, I do think that they're gonna continue to improve, and we're gonna see that. We're gonna see them take massive strides, and we're already seeing that. Like seeing what they were doing at Blade Show, like they're doing some big things. So I expect to only see more and more out of them, and I like to see that. That's what I want to see from a company. I want to see a company constantly improve. Any of you have in the chat good at surface finish on metal? There you guys go. If you guys want to get some work, you got somebody in here needing some finishing. What's my favorite stainless steel? Vanax, probably Vanax. It's the most corrosion resistance for, you know, a great amount of edge retention. It's a really good steel, and I love how it's a steel that you get to not worry about it. And speaking about that, I actually want to talk a little bit about this quiet carry. I wanted to talk a little bit about the quiet carry knives, and because I feel like I started thinking about like who's the best overseas company that's not from China, right? So take China out of it. Who is the best overseas knife company not from China? And I kept coming back to Giant Mouse, or sorry, that Giant Mouse, to Quiet Carry. I was looking at the Giant Mouse over there. To Quiet Carry, like the Quiet Carry 9. And hopefully we do see them do the Waypoint in a large version. I know a bunch of you guys did leave the comments in that video where I said leave a comment if you want to see a large version of this on bearings. Hopefully they've seen that. But yeah, Quiet Carry, man, they are just absolutely kicking ass. They're fit, they're finished, their tolerances, everything is on point with them. And you know, yeah, they're not cheap, right? They're not cheap, but the prices from Taiwan, because it's made in Taiwan, are very similar to the USA. So, you know, it's kind of like buying a USA made knife as far as price goes. So you can't really complain about the price. They're really not that bad. And yes, the Quiet Carry 9 is like one of the best knives of the year so far. And same thing with this guy. So I'm absolutely loving this guy. I just haven't had it as long, but I've been carrying the hell out of it. Very ergonomic. I love LC200N and super duper smooth. The fit, the finish, everything about it. I'm carrying it right now, actually. So, but yeah, I think that they might possibly be like, you could argue, what about Giant Mouse, right? That's another one. I'd say, okay, you could argue that. But I don't know if they would be beating them. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of some other companies. Was MKM? Spyderco has some stuff in the Japanese factory and a Taiwan factory. You could argue that, but I would argue that that's a USA company. And I think Quiet Carry is too. But all their knives are either made in Taiwan, except for one model made in China. Did Jared just say best Chinese followed by? I said that's not Chinese. The best knives made overseas, not by China. Because there's just so many companies to compare it to. I'm saying take China out of it and take the USA out of it, right? What's the best knife company aside from the USA and China? Hey everyone, Jared and I agree on Quiet Carry. How does the opening hole work? I did a full video on it if you want to check it out. It works good, but it is a little bit smooth around the edge because they put a chamfer around it. I talk about it in my first impressions. So in my first impressions, I always talk about the negatives. So yeah, I mean, it's good. It's easy to flick, but it is, you do notice that there's not a sharp edge there. So yeah, Russia has some good stuff. You could argue Shirogorov. You could argue that. Custom Knife Factory too. I think some of their stuff might be made by Riat though. I'm not 100% about that, but Mouse has been hitting. Yes, Giant Mouse has been hitting. South African knife makers in general are pretty badass. Yeah, but that would be customs though. So I'm talking production, and I don't know of any South African production knives. Maybe there is, and I'm just not thinking about it. I'm sure there is. Trust me, I'm sure there is. But most of the stuff that I can think of are mid-techs or customs. Maybe there's some. I'm just not thinking about them. Probably. I'm sure someone of you guys will let me know. Cold Steel. Yep, Cold Steel's from Taiwan, or most of them, not all, but most of them, I believe. And yeah, they do a pretty good job, a really good job, actually. I'm always happy with them. He is South African, but his knives are made in the USA. And now it's Tim Reeves, so. So, let's talk more about, let me pull this thing up. So, like I was saying earlier, if this thing will pop up, the JACKWOLF knives Gunslinger, you got one available here at GP Knives if you guys want to check it out. I have a couple pocket slips that I had made from somebody. We're going to take a look. If you watch me on Instagram, then you've probably already seen this. He made me this one to spec, and I will pull his thing up too really quick. We'll check his thing out here in 1 second. So he made me this one right here with the blue threading and the beautiful leather. I absolutely love it. Right now I got one of my JACKWOLFs in there. Then he threw in this other one just because, and I did cut this out. This was my doing, so I could easily just pinch it and pull it out. And I got the FEELGOOD. By the way, there are some FEELGOODs available too. I should have mentioned that earlier. So JACKWOLF knives, FEELGOODs. There's a bunch of them available on GP Knives right now, different colors. So if you haven't gotten a FEELGOOD yet and you want to get one, super versatile. This is one that, man, you can do a lot of work with this one. But yeah, check out RICHTER Knives on Instagram. He's new. He's a small company. He's just getting started, and he's doing incredible work. So I'm very, very happy with his work. And this is the one I got right here. But yeah, you can see some of his sheath or pocket slip designs. He's got really cool leather. Look at this one. Look at that. Isn't that badass? Look at how that leather's done. I'd love to have one like this too. That is dope. So yeah, he's got some really cool slips. Now, like I said in my Instagram post, Ben JACKWOLF, he will have some available on his site, if not already, that you can get that are for his knives, for the JACKWOLF knives. So you guys can always go that route. But yeah, I'm very happy with Richter knives. I actually have a sticker right here. You guys can see it. Follow him on Instagram. Like I said, he's an up and coming small business, and I like to support small businesses, especially in the USA. So, but anyways, I told you guys that the Gunslinger was going to be super popular. I told you guys they're not quite sold out yet, but they're going to be. I'm definitely right about that. And you know, I seen a couple people saying like, I'm not a clip point fan. I'm not a clip point fan. I get it. But if you watch my video on it, you'll see that I actually do utility cuts with this thing, and it's so thin. 5 thousandths behind the edge, 5 or 6 thousandths behind the edge. It's so thin right here that it literally it's a utility cutting beast, even though it does not have that type of blade shape because it's so thin. There was even at one point I was cutting a piece of cardboard on top of another piece of cardboard. It went right through and cut both of them, and I wasn't trying to do that. It's so slicey, and because they are so slicey, you could sharpen this up in minutes, literally in minutes. So these would be like, I'm not telling you to learn how to freehand on, you know, a JACKWOLF, but if you were going to learn how to freehand, getting a knife this thin is exactly what you want. It's going to sharpen up really, really fast and very easily. I bought one of those sheaths off of JACKWOLF yesterday. There you go. So they must be available. I'm guessing they're available on his site. I think that's what he said. They were going to be available on his site. So yeah, this is definitely my all-time favorite, and hopefully, you know, we'll be seeing some other designs with the lock on them, because he's got some winners here. And if they're this style, I know they all probably couldn't be exactly like this, but this style, man, I look at it and I see so many opportunities. You know, it's so damn good. And for all those that did get one and were able to snag one, good for you. If you haven't gotten it yet, you are going to be very, very happy. I can guarantee that. And if for some dumb reason you're not, you have no problem selling it, because they seem like they're very, very popular. I did hear the yellow ones, the yellow fat carbon fiber ones were the most popular. I guess, you know, I probably would have went with the yellow too. I did get this one from Ben, but I love the blue, the purples, the yellows. I love them all, to be honest, especially the blue, the purple, and the yellow. So, but yeah, it's crazy. And it's not crazy, but blade geometry, man, is nuts how much of a difference it makes in a lot of cutting performances, even as far as blade shapes. Because like, I'm not a big clip point fan, but damn it, this thing works great for EDC because of how slicey it is. Listen to this, acoustics. It's probably ringing your guys' ears. Somebody said, I bet you can't flick it 40 times in 20 seconds or something. It's like, I bet I can. I was definitely the color to pick. This was definitely the color to pick. I would love him to make a Zulu pattern bolster lock. I would love to just see some of his designs, like I'd love to see this one right here, this one, the Midnight Jack. I'd love to see this one. Oh, with the fuller like that. Pow! You could also probably do the front flipper, maybe. But I love the coffin shaped handle. the grind and the blade shape on the sheep's foot, but I want to see a sheep's foot Wharncliffe or a spear point is what I want to see. Jared, have you checked out the Kimono? I don't even know what that is. Who is your guess on JACKWOLF's OEM? Supposedly not Riad or Best Tech. I don't know, man. That's tough. I don't know. I know who I want to say, but I've heard that it's not them. So it's tough, man. I don't know. I have no idea because everybody that I'm thinking of, I've heard it's not. So, you know, unless if there's some BS going on. He was strongly implying he was going to make Gunslinger in different blade shapes. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be the Gunslinger, it would be different blade shapes. You know what? Let's just ask the guy himself. How about that? What's up, Ben?
What's up, guys?
I didn't tell anybody that you were coming, so
good. Everybody loves a surprise.
Yeah. I figured they'd like that. So this is Ben from JACKWOLF, so we can just ask him personally. We were actually, I don't know if you heard, we were just talking about the JACKWOLFs. Yeah, will you show those sheets? Where are they being sold at? The pocket flips, I'm sorry.
Yep. So this is the black one, and then there's two other colors, natural and tobacco. Black sold out just about a half hour ago, but I don't know if their natural might be gone too, but I have about 6 tobacco ones left. They're on my website under the Gunslinger section. What's up, everyone?
Like $40, right?
$40 worth every penny.
Good deal.
Troy from Northwoods Leather. It's the premium Pueblo stuff, and they're all handmade. Yeah. And nothing left on the table with these.
No, that's a good price, man. Very good price. They look good. They look great. So we were just talking about locking versions in different shapes. So yes. You want to kind of speak on that a little bit? I know we were talking a little bit about it earlier, and I haven't really gotten into anything. So what's your thoughts about the future of the locking JACKWOLF knives?
Well, this was a big experiment, right? There's a lot of time and effort invested in the development of this. It took an entire year, multiple prototypes, and I had no idea if you guys were going to respond to this. You know, like I got to charge more for these. They cost more to make. And so I couldn't invest the money and time into developing a whole line of these up front. That would have just been, it's not feasible. However, what I told myself is that if the response to this is good, which now the proof is in the pudding, like the sales are awesome, I will develop an entire line of these based on my slip joint drawings or my slip joint designs.
That's what I'd love to see.
Yeah.
Because I could think of a few already that you already have in slip joints that I would love to see transferred over to some bolster locks, you know, or locking versions of. I was just talking about the Midnight Jack. That's one, man. I would love to see that one. You know, you already got the fuller that runs down it. So, you know, it probably transfer right over. But I do know that there are some, when you start talking about getting into locking, things can change. So, you know, depending on the shape. And you were even saying that earlier that some of them might have to go with thumb studs, things like that, you know, just to make it all work.
Right. Like not all of these will translate as effectively as this one.
Right.
And so there's going to have to be some R&D, maybe some like creative modifications to some of these things to get them to work. And maybe some never translate, you know?
Yeah.
But for sure, some of the ones that would obviously translate will be the ones I gravitate towards in the beginning, because it's just going to be less work.
Yeah.
And finding time to design is right now the hardest thing for me to do.
Yeah, I bet. Daniel, thank you, man. Thank you for the 10 bones. I appreciate it. For the JACKWOLF. Please never discontinue that gun stock and clip point. Such a great design. Yeah, I'm not positive, but what's your favorite blade shape? I would have guessed clip point, but I don't know.
What's that's a tough one for me. I'm a clip point guy. I would say I love a straight edge for the utility. I think they look really good, but there's just something about the swoop that gets me.
Gets you. Yeah. Yeah, I like a lot of different blade shapes, but I'm definitely my favorite's probably the spear point, and then next would be like a Warncliffe sheep's foot or an in between that, you know. And that's also why I like a spear point. If you take a Warncliffe and modify it a little bit, same thing with the sheep's foot, it kind of is like it's similar to a spear point as far as use goes, and that's what I love about it because it's so versatile. It's like you can do anything with it, and it really doesn't get held back in any sort of cutting performance things. What's the thoughts behind the 3 milled horizontal lines at the top of the bolster? Style or grip?
It's style. If we're talking about these lines here, it's
Yeah.
style. And this is a carryover from traditional slip joint knives. You'll hear, I call them flutes because I think more people can sort of understand associating that word with these, but you'll just hear people call these lined bolsters. But I call them flutes. It's not wrong to call them flutes. It's just an aesthetic treatment. And I think when you start doing small aesthetic treatments like chamfers, flutes, that stuff all adds up to be a really elegant, handsome presentation.
I see somebody's asking about a button lock. I know it's a little too early to make any answers like that, but would you be interested in doing any other types of locking mechanisms or just stick to like bolster locks? It does transfer the best, I know, with bolster locks because it, just and it looks the cleanest, I guess. But
I would, of course, I'm never going to say never. Rarely will you hear me say never. I think a more logical mechanism for my product line would be a traditional lock back eventually, because that's more along the lines of traditional knives. And that would probably be easier for me to learn the mechanism, because this, like getting into these modern folders, there's a lot of education that has to happen with how to design them. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. I saw your order come through here on the computer.
Very cool. Compression button lock. Some thoughts for sure. But yeah, I'm super impressed with this one, man. And it was super surprising too, because seeing them at the show, I was like, damn it, man. Like I knew it right away. Like right when I got it in hand, I flicked it. You just know, like there's those knives you get in hand and you pop open and you're like, oh shit. You just know it right there. Like, damn it, this thing's gonna be so badass. So, and that's the way this one was,
I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot listening to you guys, your YouTube videos, reading comments. Like I'm obsessed with it, just like everybody here who's spending their Saturday nights with us. And I'm like, I really know what these guys want. I know what they're into. So I'm going to design something for these guys, like the slip joints, these were for the slip joint guys, but also to attract you guys into the slip joint game. But like these were made for you guys with all the shit in them that I know you guys want. But it like with my style has to be recognizable as a JACKWOLF. This does not look like a bug out, What's up?
And I and I know that, but because like even with me, like that's what I've been screaming about since the beginning. Like, please do a bolster lock. I think the first night I started saying that. Kara's asking, she says, nice to see you. Hope all is well. I've gotten a few questions on Instagram regarding the HRC for as far as the new folder goes. Do we have that info?
61 on the S90V, any JACKWOLF with S90V.
Gotcha.
And it's been like, I was interested listening to you talking about this because like the performances here at this heat treat, like I've watched guys just work with these things, but because they're so thinly ground, you can sharpen them. So it's kind of nice how you're getting that high heat treat performance, but you're not spending hours on the stones.
No, you can sharpen these up faster than any like budget steel or anything like that, just because of the thin geometry. And that's the benefits to thin geometry, that not only do they cut better, but they also they strop back better, they hone better, they sharpen faster. So it does make it to where you could literally work with a knife like this thin and sharpen it at work, with a 5-minute break, because they're so thin.
And they do perform. Like Stasa puts him through the paces, and now Donnie B all day, he takes him in his backyard and just beats the shit out of them. And dude, they cut, they don't break. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love S90V. I think S90V is a great steel. I think, you know, especially because, you know, you're still getting the high amount of edge retention without sacrificing the corrosion resistance. So you still have corrosion resistance with it. You know, there's a lot of other steels that will perform as good as S90V, but then you're going to have to sacrifice something, you know, and S90V just seems like it's that happy medium steel that I personally love. So, and I think most people do, you know.
And it's important to balance the steel to the tool and the intended use of the tool. Like, is this a tactical knife? No. Is this a knife that you want to beat the crap out of? Well, no. You know, this is an EDC knife. It will perform when you need it to. But there's a reason this is 10 thousandths behind the edge and not 50 thousandths behind the edge.
When I was doing the rope cutting with it, and you can see it in the video, it was like hot butter, just like going through it. And listen, I've cut that rope a lot, like with a lot of other knives, and like there's knives where I'm grinding trying to get through it because they're thicker, and this stuff was just gliding through it like butter. It was so smooth, like surprisingly easy. What's the oil you use for your folders?
So on my slip joints, we'll start there. Yep. I really like Nano Oil 85 weight on the tang corners. It stays.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of that. On these, I would go something thinner for the bearings because you kind of want to get it in there and let it drip in.
Yeah.
So Nano Oil 5 or 10 is going to be great.
You ever try KPL? You don't like KPL?
It's not that I don't like it. I just have a lot of Nano Oil. So, but I'm not gonna endorse one over the other. Frankly, just whatever you have is going to work. If it's real thick and you can't get it in there, go for something thinner. But if you have gun oil, use what you got. You know,
I always keep a heavy and an original KPL because if I need something heavy, I got the heavy. If I need something just regular, you know, it works good. I like that stuff. And it also, the one beautiful thing about that stuff is it smells good.
Yeah.
Your knives never smell like crap. It literally smells like cinnamon or something.
The other thing that's important is your applicator. Like KPL and Nano Oil both have a needle applicator. You try to get in these things like dropper bottles, you just make a damn mess.
Yes. Yeah, I've had some that over time they start leaking and all kinds of stuff. And that's one thing I love. Once you get one with a needle applicator, you almost never go back. Stasa says nothing worse than a thick behind the edge knife cutting rope, especially if the edge isn't toothy. Very true. Yes, very lucky if you're feeling. Wait, is he talking to us?
I think he's talking to someone else.
Yeah. I use Gunny oil and KPL for the smell. Yeah, that stuff does smell good. Gunny juice, same thing. That stuff smells really good. Yeah, the Slick 'em all too. I didn't even think about that. I should start promoting that stuff a little bit more. So OCD for EDC makes his own oil, which it took a long time for him to develop it. It's like a oil, grease mixed, and it works really good. Like on bearings or washers, it works. So, but it's basically like a thick oil, but it's definitely like a grease too. It's really, really good. I was very surprised with how good that stuff works.
Very cool.
Once you go needle applicator, you never go back. Not as catchy as the original phrase. Very true. Very true. So as far as what's coming next, can you speak on a little bit on something that's coming next? Like, I'm sure you have something already in the works. So not that you have to get into it too much, but just, is it going to be locking? Is it going to be slip?
So here's what you can expect from me. Obviously, I've developed the slip joint program and that took a lot of work. And so that train is going to continue to chug along the tracks. We have identified and now tested that the market will accept this. So now it's time to develop and roll this out. I mean, honestly, guys, to develop and roll this program out can take a year or more because I plan production months in advance.
Right.
So ultimately, and there's other things I've got going on in the lab in the background that I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you guys, but remember, it's JACKWOLF knives, not JACKWOLF slip joints. I want to have something for the majority of the knife market in some form or fashion. And I really like the challenge of coming up with new stuff. So I guess one thing I can promise you is you won't always be seeing the same thing from me.
Yeah, and the audience loves to hear that, loves to see that, because we're, as the knife, for the knife market, you're always wanting to see innovation and growth. Especially with companies you really like, companies you really love to get stuff from, you're always wanting to see, like them evolve to some extent, and I can think of so many companies that kind of got caught in a corner and have had so many opportunities to evolve and they haven't. And then now they're kind of, I don't want to say left behind, but they're kind of in the corner, right? And everything else is shining above them, but it's because they're not willing to innovate or to I guess put their neck out there a little bit more.
Yeah, you have to take risks, because think about it. Like, let's say you spend a few years developing something that gets popular. Like, can you sit back and maybe sell those 2 or 3 models until they lose steam? Yeah, you probably can. But then what happens? Like, you're now 3, 4 years down the road. You haven't developed anything new. You haven't been paying attention to the trends. You're just sitting there counting your money.
Yeah,
I don't like that mentality.
That's a big thing. The trends, it's huge. You want to be involved. You want to make sure that you're rolling with the flow and actually know, because it's kind of like sometimes to some extent, especially when you're like a year out, you do have to kind of know what's probably going to be the next popular thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you got to put your finger on the pulse. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because something might, you might think something cool that you saw, but it didn't really hit. And then you just
get outdone really quick.
Right. Yeah. So if you want to stay fresh and relevant, you're going to take the risk of, getting burned or making a dud or whatever. But that's just part of it, And I think at the end of the day, if you're maintaining your creativity, if you're trying to push the boundaries, if you're developing new and exciting projects, like, I think that's better than not.
Yeah. Stasa says an EDC fixed blade in one of your designs would be badass. Just a thought.
Yeah, man. Just a thought. I appreciate it. And anybody in the chat, like, I'm always open for suggestions. So if you guys have an idea, oh, Ben, I'd love to see you do this, just shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. Like, I really listen to what people ask me for, because you guys are the ones who are responsible for my success. Like, I can't do it without you. So why would I turn a blind ear or a blind eye to what you guys want? I don't understand why brands do that shit. And then they make dog shit.
I agree. And I think, man, I can't help but think like how I don't want to say rude, but like how nasty it is, like, to sit there and say, like, okay, you might have been in the industry for 20 years or whatever, but now it's almost like you don't realize what got you here. And now you have a cult like following. So of course you have that, but eventually that's going to go away. You know what I mean? If you want to stay relevant, you do have to kind of listen to the market to some extent. Thanks, AJ. I appreciate you coming through, man. And shout out to Crispy Donut Community. He said he snagged the last blue from Deadwood. Very
nice.
Cool. Very cool.
Nice. Thank you, bro.
I think a JACKWOLF with GTC lock and thrust bearings would be innovative. Yeah, that'd be very innovative. You know what he's talking about?
I don't know what a GTC lock is. It's so innovative. No. I don't even know what it is.
I think he's talking about the I think he's talking about the spring loaded flipper tab, like the ZT CIVIVI We Knife Co just did a knife with them. I think that's what he's talking about. I could be wrong. On the slip joint side, would you ever do a hawk bill? Ooh, that's a good question.
So I'm a big fan, honestly, of hawk bills.
Me too.
So here's where I gotta mix like I gotta weigh my personal preferences against like my better business judgment sometimes.
Yes.
The hawk bill is the kind of thing where I think to myself, is it just a vocal minority of people who ask for it? But then when I go to make it, I'm not going to be able to sell as many of them as I need to. That's one of those blade shapes where I'm on the fence, as if it's going to be popular enough.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The one way to kind of do a happy medium with that is a downward facing Wharncliffe where there's no curve to it, but it faces downward, where it just cants down a little bit, because then you get the same benefits out of it without the sharpening, nightmare, which to me, it's not even a big deal. All you just need thin stones. It's the exact same as sharpening anything else, just with thin stones. This Gunslinger is a home run. Beautifully traditional, but nasty flipping and fidget fun. Glassy smooth. I can't put it down. Nice job. I feel the same way.
I am it's like anxious isn't maybe the right word, but it's probably the right word. Like a bunch of these things are going out and you guys are all going to get them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think and say about these things? I'm optimistic, but you never know until you hear. So
Glenn Elder says, look at Chris Reeve Knives. What new things have they done in the last 5 years? Nothing. Meanwhile, their prices have ballooned for the same old thing, and now they're starting to sit. Yeah, because the thing is, though, is that you kind of understand to some extent when their stuff, when they can't make enough, right? When you can't make enough and you got something that's working, I somewhat understand, because you're going to lose money going into something else, right? You're going to lose more money than you'd make on this next project. But it's still good to have something in the works moving forward, so that maybe you can, help introduce it without hurting yourself, I see we have a couple super chats. Maurice with the 5 bones. Dr. J. Ben, hello. Make a $110 Jack Wolf. I gotta go. Take care. Thanks, Maurice. I appreciate you joining. J. Rye with the 5 bones. Jack Wolf Fixie. Call it the Ripper. I like the sound of a fixie. I think that would be probably the easiest thing to do, obviously.
Fixed blades, they'll never sell the way folding knives do, but I like them. It's there's a sheath now, and that can't be dog shit. That's got to be right, because a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Like, that's something I've always really believed. So it's just you got to develop that. And then, is it one size sheath fits your whole fixed blade line? Are you developing sheaths for everything? Like, it's not as easy as it sounds for the system. It'd be one, and I'm not the kind of guy who's going to sell you a fixed blade without a sheath.
Well, Henry, he says, I got mine on the way and can't wait to get it in my hands, but didn't realize it didn't come with the slip, and I'll be looking for one. He says he's got some on. I don't know how many you got left right now, so I hate to, these people might already went in there and bought them up, but there should be some available on his site. So for $40, and they look really, you want to show them really good?
Yeah, go ahead and pull up the site if you can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. 1 second.
I had to rebuild my website the other day. My Shopify theme basically just decided to be incompatible right before this drop, but I got it done. That's the joys of being a business owner. So click Gunslinger right there.
Let me, bam. All right.
And then scroll down, and then the sheaths. Let's see. So there's definitely tobacco. Click the drop down.
Yeah.
There's only tobacco left. Tobacco is the dark brown one. So
they're
really nice. Yep. You're not going to be unhappy with it. They're sick.
That's my favorite one. That's my favorite one out of them.
Yeah. I tried to kind of tried to cover the bases on what I would consider like some standard colors,
some really nice stitching, man.
Yeah, dude, Troy is on point. His cuts are clean, his stitching is clean, the stamp is nice and crisp. They're so nice.
That looks great. Yeah, and you could always use it for your other Jack Wolves too.
Yeah, I would probably recommend not, because what's nice about these is how nicely they form to fit. So if you kind of want that form to fit, if you use
you gotta pick one, right?
You got to pick one. I would just let it live in there.
Yeah.
And it's it's what protects it. It's how it rides in your pocket. It's kind of it's a system. It's kind of like a fixed blade with the sheath. It's a system.
I don't. You know what? Here, I'll tell you what. I got it right here for you, bud. I'll make it
Paste the link.
I'll make it real easy for you. It's in the chat right now. So just click that link down at the bottom. You can it'll pull that exact thing I just had up. I like the Vero fixed blade. Yeah, he's doing some good stuff. He had some cool fixed blades, and he's got some chef knives coming, which seems pretty cool. Same thing with who the heck said it? Oh man, I can't even think of who it is now. I just did a video on it. I can't even think of the name now, but they did some chef knives. Somebody help me. Bradford knives just did some chef knives. Super thin geometry. They look great. That's beautiful. So, as far as the fat carbon goes, because then this one you didn't do. There was no micarta. It was all fat carbon, and then that gold carbon fiber. So you said the gold fat carbon fiber was the one that sold the best.
Yeah,
so far.
gold sold out.
Sold out.
And the second, like blue and green, were tied for second. I'm sorry, no, blue is in second place. These are all very close. So gold went first, blue went second, and then green and purple were tied for third, basically, and then pink is in fourth.
Asher, I like Swiss Army. I grew up with them. I don't really use them now, but I grew up with them, and I know there's so many different ones. So yeah, I think they're badass. The Bradford kitchen knives look awesome for sure. They are, man. They're really cool. Yeah, it's tough, man, when you're looking at them, and you're picking a color. I know everybody else thinks this too. It's like it's tough to pick one. Like sometimes there's one that just like pops out, especially if you have other ones. Like you'd be like, oh, I don't have this one yet. Like I don't have the yellow carbon fiber, so I need that one. But if you're just starting out and you're picking, they all pop so much. So it's like, damn it, man, it's hard to pick. They all look great.
Yeah, and I do get people who ask about micarta, and of course, I was using a lot of micarta in the beginning, but just the micarta on the slip joints anyway was not selling to my satisfaction. And it's not really so much about my satisfaction. It's I've got dealers, and my obligation to my dealers is to give them product that's going to sell as best as I possibly can. That's kind of my end of the bargain, give them product that meets the market demand. Now, and also I ran out of the micarta, so I was going to have to order like a ton of it if I wanted to keep using it. It's kind of put me in that position to choose. Now, will I ever do these in micarta? I'm not going to say I never will. It's just at the time these were made, it was not really an option. And to do the anode to match the scales, that kind of went with the carbon.
So, not to get off this knife at all, but I just want to ask you, because I was kind of curious about this. What was, or what is, like, if you were going to have to talk about a knife design or a knife that you just absolutely love, that's not your own, maybe that you grew up with, or maybe just that you have in your collection now, maybe you got from another knife company. What are some other knives that you really, really adore in your collection, or that you used to have, or whatever?
That's a great question. Let's see. So I'm left-handed, so that's an important caveat.
You're left-handed? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm left-handed. So for a while, I just didn't buy right-handed knives, so it really eliminated a lot of what was out there. It's one of the things that really drew me to slip joints. So my collection consists of a lot of Great Eastern cutlery, and I bought those just because I thought I just love the way they look. I like the heritage.
Yeah.
I like to collect the number 15 pattern. Not necessarily because I like to use them. I just like them. Then I do have some Chris Reeve. I have Sabenzas large and small in left-hand configuration. I appreciate the craftsmanship. I like the aesthetic. I'm not as much of a, like, the fidget factor of it. Like, that's not as much of a priority for me as quality, just overall manufacturing quality. So I do like Sabenzas. I'm kind of boring, dude. High-end custom slip joints
are great. And like you said, I love the aesthetic of them too. Like when I think of like the perfect aesthetic knife, I think of like a Chris Reeves. They look so, and when you take pictures, like if you post on Instagram and stuff, they're so picture worthy. Like the lines, just the way they look, it works really good. Yeah. And that's also why it's a great platform, like for them, to do different inlays and different designs and stuff as far as like custom work goes. But now you got the fidget factor down, so I'm guessing you're liking it a little bit more, huh?
Oh yeah, and it's something I've grown to appreciate as I got deeper into the knife community. It's like, okay, guys they're into things I never really considered, And then when you get a fidgety knife and you play with it, like there's no denying this is fun, There's no denying this is awesome. And then, my job as a as a business person is not to just always make everything for me. It's to make stuff for you guys, but balanced with my own preferences and my own style. So, you know, that's why this knife is on bearings with a flipper and a middle finger flick, you know, because that's what you guys want. And it's dope.
Yeah. And it works so good. That's the next thing.
And it works.
The sound of it too. That thing cracks out there. I did this post on Instagram and then I put a little music over it and I kind of regretted it afterwards because it kind of covered up the sound, and the sound is so good on them. The vibration through that thin blade, you can really hear it and feel it. Donnie Simmons, I agree. I like actually, because when I think of fidget factor, I don't just think of like bearing knives, reverse flicking. Like I also like a good slow rolling action too, like on Sabenzas and things like that.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, your review video where you take this thing and put it through its paces with your high quality microphone, dude, it's like the best ASMR I've ever heard.
Hey Jared, I'm new to the channel and carrying knives. Welcome, man. I appreciate you, Nicholas. I caught your quiet carry video earlier this week and that brand really impressed. Do they produce a budget knife you'd recommend? Not really. I don't think they do anything really budget. You can just go on their site. I don't have an affiliate through them or anything, so you just got to go on Quiet Carry site. But no, their stuff's made in Taiwan and most of it is premium. So you're not going to find budget stuff, but there's a lot of great companies that have a lot of great budget stuff though. If that's the price range you're in, there's a ton of great stuff out there. And I have a ton of great videos. So
there's probably more good choice. The amount of choices in the, you know, $75 to $150 range is insanely amazing these days.
Bearings or phosphor bronze washers. I personally like bearings, so
I like them both. Like, does it have to be this or that? Why can't it be this and that? Like, that's the beautiful thing about collecting knives is you can have a collection, you know? Let's talk about pros and cons. Obviously, bearings are really smooth. You can get a good flick, you know, but also like these are really susceptible to lint in your pocket. You know, these get dirty quick. These can crud up. I think bearings have an advantage there.
You can blow them out really easily.
Yeah.
You blow them right out and then,
yeah.
You know,
so I guess what I'm saying is there's pros and cons to both. You don't have to just pick one or the other. You can have your cake and eat it too.
I agree with that because there's knives that I have in my collection that I would never want to put on bearings. That I love the way the action is. I love the smoothness. I love the tolerances and just everything about them. But then there's plenty of knives that, you know, I have on bearings that I wouldn't have any other way. So, you know, it just depends on what you're doing with them too. It might be a silly question, but for some reason, I feel like most of the knives I like are a little smaller than I would love to. Is there something behind it? Something behind liking smaller knives? I think sometimes they're just more wieldable to some extent. Now, some people would argue that a big knife can do everything a small knife can do, but a small knife can't do everything a big knife can do. But I do think there's still a line there, you know, especially when you're talking about pocket carry. You don't want to carry around a sword. And most of the cutting tasks we do every day, we don't need a machete. You know, maybe you do, but, you know, a lot of people don't. So, you know, a nice little compact knife, as long as it's sharp and it's got, you know, a relatively decent sized blade, you can do a lot of work with it. You'd be surprised. Like I've even worked full day jobs with 3-inch blades. No problem.
Right. And you can't look at the knife in a vacuum. You have to look at it with your lifestyle. You know, like what can you carry a 5-inch bladed folding knife every day along with everything else you need to carry? Is it making your life more difficult? Then it's probably not the best tool for the job. And if you need a tool like that, it probably belongs on like a tool belt, you know, so it's no longer a pocket knife at that point.
That's true. That is very true. Someone says there's also a million different types of bearings that haven't been incorporated into knives yet. And I would love to see that. As even with, what was it? Gillian did the salt and pepper ones where he did the handmade ceramic bearings and it was salt and pepper bearings. So some of the bearings were white ceramic. So they were a little bit slicker than the black ones. Probably not by much, but a little bit slicker. So it made for a little bit smoother action, you know, at least on paper it did. Carried a medium Stockman for years. Okay.
Yeah, we have to consider that for centuries, men used slip joint knives with, 4.5-inch handles at the most, and did real work. So, and here's an interesting conversation I had with someone at Blade Show. He was a dude who does a lot of he's a bushcraft instructor. I think he slept 200 days outside last year. So the dude's like legit, right?
That's awesome.
And he was like, when you spend as much time as I do outside, he's like, less is more, And so he's like, if I have a small knife with a short blade, that takes up very little room on my body. And I can do a ton of work with that. And I can sharpen it easy. So I thought that was interesting because in his case, less was more.
Also, you can get in closer, like when I was at work and I had to cut zip ties like all day. It was great having something that I could get my hand nice and close to the edge with, so like I get all the leverage right there in the edge, and it's a lot easier to pop rather than something big. And then also you kind of need something a little bit smaller to get behind them and things like that. So yeah, depending on what you're doing, a small knife, man, you'd be surprised like how, like there's some knives I even say like this is a small knife, but it acts like a big knife. The way you can use it is crazy. Cue ball, thank you for the 5 bones. I guess Jared can't see anniversary messages. No, I guess I can't. Sorry about that. Great to talk with you at Blade Show, Ben, and also at the airport. Glad you're here with Jared tonight. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it, man.
Great to see you, my friend.
And
always a pleasure.
Chris, I do see that you I see it on my phone. Thank you, man. What? I know I just said that. Yeah, man, Blade Show was awesome. I had a great time. I'm sure you guys had a great time. I'm sure your this table did phenomenal. So did you pick up anything at Blade Show?
No.
You just sold.
No. I just sold. It's to the point now where I'm literally drowning in knives, dude. I just got knives everywhere. I've got prototypes. I've got I save one of everything I make. I'm drowning in them. So the thought of buying more of them is like, oh my gosh, like where am I even going to put the thing?
Good problem to have though.
It is. It's interesting. I never thought I would say I've got too many knives.
Right. All right. Thinking about it last year, thinking a year ahead of time. You weren't thinking that would happen.
Exactly.
Or at least you hope it would, because it's a good problem to have. I know I say the same thing, as I get so many knives in, I'm drowning in them too, but it's a good problem to have,
Oh, it's the best problem.
The boxes, holy cow, the boxes. And that's another thing. Like one cool thing is that since I get so many boxes in the mail, and I'm talking about like actual cardboard boxes I have to break down from the shipping. So it's like I always got stuff to do edge retention tests. Like it's almost too much. There's times where it's like I have so much like I don't even want to break this stuff down. I just want to fold it up and just toss it in the recycling bin, but I have to, otherwise it won't fit in the recycling bin because there's so much.
Yeah. We are definitely chewing through forests these days, making cardboard boxes.
Just mowing them down.
Just mowing down the rainforest for cardboard boxes.
Those zirconium ceramic balls can be super nice, but don't know if any use them in knives yet. The Atlanta airport was nice, friendlier folks than the New York City one, and the plane train should be standard in all airports. Yeah, that train, that was definitely interesting. We had to take it because we were meeting up with Stassa and B. Wallace at the airport, and we went and had food before we took our flight and everything. So they have this train that you can take around the airport to get the different parts of it, which is pretty cool.
It's definitely a big airport.
Yeah, it is.
One of the biggest ones in the world.
I got to give Chicago credit because even though it is so big and so packed, they definitely have their system running pretty good. And it wasn't always like that. Back in the day, it was just hell. But now, especially after you experience a bunch of other airports, you realize how good some are and how bad some are. And they actually do a decent job, even though it's packed and there's so many people and it's so big. They have a good system down pat that works. The plane train. Dallas has one as well. I don't remember seeing the one in Dallas. I don't remember. ATL Airport wasn't the beast I thought it was. Honestly, I long to be back in it. Yeah, next year, man. Next year. Yeah, anything knife related. Yes, B walls, anything knife related. Yeah, I can't wait till next year either. I'm definitely gonna we were already looking at places to stay and everything. We haven't picked one yet, but we'll make sure we get it early. So we like to plan ahead of time. That way we can get the best place possible.
Are you going to West?
Where did you stay?
I stay in the Renaissance. I stay right there.
Oh, okay. So you order out early then too, right? You have to get in there, right?
So if you're exhibiting, Blade Show they send you an email and there's like a room block, but you got to jump on it pretty quick because the rooms at the Waverly sell out fast, even for the exhibitors.
So there's probably so many held back just for like you guys.
Yeah, and there's like a discounted rate. I think it was like $200 a night, something like that, which compared to the rack rate guys were paying, I think it was a pretty good deal. And frankly, the convenience of it is worth it, especially as an exhibitor, because you're kind of going back and forth a lot to your room or whatever. Yeah. And the way Atlanta is, for those who haven't been to the show, like where that hotel is, it's not like you're in some downtown where there's all kinds of businesses and hotels close by. Like just to get to the next hotel is like a 10-minute walk.
Yes. Yes, so, it is. It is. Yeah. Sid1 says he's considering coming from Norway to Blade Show next year. You'd love it, man. It's a good time. It's a good trip.
There's definitely a lot of international people. It's not it's not unprecedented, man. Like there was, I think 16 came from Germany. And there's people from all over Europe. So come along.
From Japan, they were there.
Yep, Japan was there, Germany was there, Sweden was there, China's there, everybody's there.
Everybody's
Italy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the amazing thing is like, you know, it is the biggest one in the world. So it's great seeing so many companies in one place and getting to experience so many knives at once. And you'll never get through them all. You'll never see it all. You'll always at the end be like, how did I miss that? How didn't I see that person or that booth? And even me, I thought I walked everything perfectly to see everything. And in the end, there were so many people I missed and so many tables I did not see. And it drives me nuts because it's like, I would have loved to have seen that. But just somehow, man, somehow there's so much.
There's so much. And I was just talking with someone earlier. It's not just that there's so many knives. It's like everything is there. So there's so much opportunity to meet people, opportunity to talk about deals, opportunity to look at designs. Like from the industry side of it, there's more opportunity than you can even, try to engage with.
I was going to try to book a room at the Waverly next year, and I live here.
Yeah, that's the Waverly. That's the Blade Show hotel. If you're gonna go to Blade Show, even if you're a local, it's kind of nice staying there because you can. Here's what happens: you're at the pit on Friday night, Saturday night, and even Thursday night, and there's people down there till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So you kind of hang as long as you can. And it's kind of nice to just go in the elevator and go to your room.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a house that we had a bunch of people staying at, which was an awesome idea. It was beautiful. It was great. It made it to where we all had our own rooms and everything, and beautiful house. It was a great experience. Shout out to Key Bar. Definitely go and check them out. They're here in the chat. Shout out to them.
They got cool stuff.
You see your screen right here? All right, you see the hearts showing up on your screen?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
Up here?
Up here? No.
Oh,
okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't see him over here, though.
Sorry.
Shout out to Key Bar. Stas23 says, I've been going for the last 8 years and still haven't seen every table. Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, man, like they don't like when you call it the small room, but the small room, like that room was popping this year, dude. Like for the first year, like I heard more people excited about what they had going on in there. It didn't feel like a spillover room this year. It felt like a place to be.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is some people will not avoid, but like they'll think of the secondary room as like secondary knife companies. I mean, then you'll go in there and you'll be like, holy cow, like there's a bunch of great companies in here. Asher, I would say GP Knives and Blade HQ, those are probably my go-tos. I have a bunch of knife dealers linked down in the description if you want to check them out and get easy access to them. I have a whole bunch of them down there. But yeah, man, I can't wait till next year again. Are you going to the other Blade shows like West and everything?
Yeah, I'll be at West. They just sent out the hotel block for the exhibitors at West. And I'm doing a different one this year. I'm gonna do the California Custom Knife Show.
Really?
It's Veterans Day weekend. It's my birthday weekend, November 11th and 12th in
Cool.
Southern California, and I can drive there. So I'm gonna try that one this year. Last couple of years I did the Gathering in Vegas on Labor Day weekend, but dude, Labor Day weekend in Vegas is a tough sell for me. Yeah, and it's at Planet Hollywood. It's not my favorite place. So I was like, maybe instead of the Gathering, I'll try the CCKS this year.
Yeah. I definitely want to do more other shows. I love them. I think it's great, and it's great networking and everything. And I think the more I go to, the better the networking gets, because the more people and just everything. So, and it's great to meet everybody. Premium, you can bring knives with you, but they have to go under the plane. You cannot bring them on carry-on. So you have to have luggage that you check, and then you can bring all the knives you want.
That's right. Or else you will try to go through security and they will tell you to either go mail it or throw it in the trash.
Yeah. It's and you don't want some knives, you do not want to lose that way.
Dude, some knives you'd be better just skipping your plane. Depending on what you got.
I mean, I double check everything because like my backpack that I use as a carry-on, I also carry knives in normally, so I have to make sure I empty everything out.
That's right.
Because I would hate for there's just I don't know, like something small, but it's super like precious to me, or whatever, just to be sitting in some weird pocket. It's like, damn it, I don't want to lose this. Don't be that person to lose your JACKWOLF knife to TSA. Exactly.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Rick said, where in Southern California? So it used to be in Orange County, but they're moving it to Woodland Hills, which is I think kind of near Hollywood and Universal City, like up in that part of LA.
I've never been there. I've never been to California. So
it's a big place. It's like a country.
yeah, I bet it's a pretty big state. I don't know if we'll ever go that far out west. Maybe, we've talked about it. I know there's a couple people we'd love to go and hang out with or run into if we do go out there. So it's something to definitely think about. How many How many shows do you do a year?
So I got the 3 Blade shows and then at least a 4th show, but I'd like to do 6 a year. I'd like to ramp up to that. I think they're really important for a lot of reasons, especially as a guy who's trying to be engaged with the community and trying to have my face out there.
Yeah.
The shows are critical. It's just finding the right ones.
It's so critical. It's so important for your face to be out there and for you to be talking to the people and people getting them the opportunity to shake your hand, and look you in the eyes and everything. That's so important. So yeah, I agree. I would be trying to do as many as possible as well if I was you. And then, the thing is that over on that side, say, Western California or whatever, the people that are going to go there and film and all that stuff are going to be slightly different than the ones from Atlanta. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of network with, just about everybody because, since it's two different sides of the country.
Yeah, I'd like to. So there's one that they had in New York, and that might make sense. You have to look at it geographically, but you also have to look at the calendar. Like, do they space out well enough? You don't want to go to 2 of them on top of each other. That's just logistically difficult when you're trying to run a business. Yeah, it's exhausting.
Draining too. Yeah, exhausting. I can't imagine if I had to do one back to back. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I came home from Blade Show. I was home for 2 days, and then I went to Pennsylvania at the Great Eastern Cutlery Rendezvous, which is pretty relaxing. It's not like I'm exhibiting there, but just 2 weeks of travel. I'm just, the older I get, the harder that is for me to recover from.
Yeah. No, well, even we said that we almost wished that we would have planned our flight for 2 days after the show instead of the next day after the show. That way, the next day after the show, we could just kind of sleep and relax and recover, because even just the airport, you know, it can be kind of draining, you know, getting, you know, just going through all the airport shit and flying and everything. That takes a lot out of you too. And especially after you've just spent 3 days walking miles and miles, you know, it's like the last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning, start packing, and then wake up early in the morning and get right on a flight. It takes so much out of you.
I was a zombie on Monday, dude. Like
I
had a lot of work I was hoping to do in the hotel lobby. I was sitting there like,
yeah, I lost my voice.
Oh, I was good for nothing on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt too. I was pushing along, trying, just struggling, but pushing along. But yeah, lost my voice. I came in the last day to film at a couple boots that, you know, that I had missed. And then now my voice is gone. So now it's just like, oh man, this video is going to sound like shit. Like it's just going to be in the middle of like all this stuff. Like all of a sudden you hear my voice just cracking, you know, in the video.
It's like last year you had technical difficulties. This year your voice gave out. It's like, I can't win.
Yeah. Asher, you do not have to take them apart to oil them. You can go right from on top of the pivot when you oil knives. You can go right up through there. If you have a detent ball, you can go right through the side. The detent ball is going to be right in front of that screw right there. So depending on what type of knife it is, but regardless, you can usually oil it. Now, with some knives with washers, like say a Chris Reeves or something that might require grease, in that case, yeah, you got to take it apart to re-grease it. But if you're just using oil, you can get it in there.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not the kind of person who wants to take your stuff apart, I recommend you don't. You know, just
me too.
And if
me too.
Yeah,
why take it apart?
Exactly. And if you're not, let's say you skin an animal with it and it's full of hair and blood and whatever, wash it under the sink.
Yeah.
You know, wash it under the sink, get some compressed air, blow it out, oil it up.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Like if you're worried about like the water inside, then just rinse it with alcohol. That'll dry up and then oil it.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dean, I was definitely rough on the last day. I was pushing through though. I was making it happen. Just bought a bazooka pink gunslinger through your link, Jared. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, Johnny.
Thank you, John. You're the man. Let me know what you think, man. Send me a message on wherever you like to send messages.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I already knew it. Like I said, when at Blade Show, when I felt it, I knew right away, like, yeah, this is gonna be the most popular one yet. You know, it just, you know, I personally think, like, obviously people love slip joints, you know, and I know you do too. I do, you do, everybody does, but I think more people love locking knives, especially bolster locks and knives like this that they can fidget with just a little bit more. And
100%. Like, let's face it. You know, I was trying to guess a number. For every slip joint sold, there's at least 20 locking knives sold, maybe 50 locking knives sold, maybe 100. I'm not sure.
No,
for sure. It's like, you know, so the slip joint's a niche in the niche. And, you know, it's what I'm the most familiar with, and where I saw an opportunity to do something no one else was doing, which was my fit and finish quality at that price point in a slip joint. It's risky because I was a market maker, but it also, I don't have any competition with that product. I have competition with this product.
Oh, yeah, definitely
a lot.
But I'll tell you what, though, man, the first one, you really came out swinging with it. It's very, very impressive. I think I don't know how long this has been in the works, but
a year.
It seems like, it seems like you put a lot of thought into it, you know, with the way you did the filler tab and everything. So now you can carry it in a slip or carry it with the clip. Just everything about it, man. It's killer.
There's an absolute ton of time and effort and prototyping and iterations that went into this. And I was not rushing to get this done. Like, when it became clear I could get it out at Blade Show, it was like, okay, I'm gonna push to get this done for Blade Show.
Yeah.
But if it didn't, it didn't.
Well, since it's already out, you can kind of speak about this. How many prototype phases did you have to go through?
There was 3 prototype phases, and then a pre-production sample. So it was like, this thing has been iterated to death. Yeah, most people are not willing to invest the time and the money to prototype something that many times.
But hey, that's how you get it right, though.
That's how you get it right. And I just know, like, you know when something's right. You know, or at least I feel like I do. And I know there's certain aspects about a knife that you can never please everybody with. And it's like, lock bar access, the way the pocket clip is set up, whether it's on washers, whether it's on bearings. Like there's certain things that will not be to everybody's taste, but
Of course.
I have to deliver a package that
the majority will love.
Yeah, that
the
meets its
point. I get it.
functional needs, that has the look, you know, and that's a JACKWOLF. That's what's important. People will look at this and be like, that's a JACKWOLF.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can see it a mile away for sure. It definitely has your style, and I like how you said that you had to take what the people wanted and put your own, you know, design influence on it, and you definitely did. You definitely knocked that out of the park, 100%.
And the other thing too is like, I like to think of things as a product line, right? Like if this was a standalone thing, it's not as useful to me as a business owner if I can develop a line off of it. So now that you guys like these and have, you know, proven to me that you'll buy them, let's make more of these types of knives. Let's make a whole product line of these. They're going to be sick.
So Ryan's asking if you can explain how much of the making is done in China. He thought it was full American. He's been pretty open with that it wasn't made in America, but
oh yeah, no, I mean, nothing I have is made in America. I have some American materials, like the camo carbons are these sheets of carbon fibers come from San Diego, but then I ship them to China. Right. So I don't have American manufacturing. I would love to have American manufacturing. I've been trying for some time just to get prototypes. And guys, I'm telling you, that ship sailed a long time ago. Now, long-term plans, dude, I would love to get enough money in here to where I can buy a machine and invest in a facility and start making some shit stateside. But guys, that's millions of dollars to set up a facility so you can have production, and that's
when I went to Tactile,
years.
When you see some of their machines, they have just one machine, just one, and of many that cost more than a house. There's one machine. So when you start looking at that and you start looking around, you're like, holy shit, man, this is a lot of money and a lot of work. And like you said, man, there's really no companies out there that are just like doing. Hopefully we see that in the future, where OEMs start popping up and they're able to do work for, you know, designers and stuff, but we're not there yet. Hopefully we do see more.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, you know, the machines are expensive, but you know what's even more expensive? Paying Americans to work in this country, and then it's going to equate to the price of the knives. And so it's just it's tough.
Yeah, if they were USA made, they'd definitely be over $500 a piece for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, look at Chris Reeves cost what they cost, not because they're gouging, because they have state-of-the-art machines and expensive materials and quality control. And quality control is expensive because it's humans.
And they're doing it themselves.
And they're doing it themselves. So, and listen, guys, you can cut corners and reduce costs, but the real knife guy knows it when they see it. You know, so and here's what I've learned is like, the higher you want to dial something in, you keep spending more and more to get small incremental improvements. That's why there's such a large amount of knives that are good in the middle of the market. And like the amount of knives that are exceptional becomes smaller and smaller and more expensive, because there's a diminishing return on the amount of money you have to put in to get quality. But I really like high quality stuff personally.
I do too. And obviously, you know, there's, you know, a huge part of the knife community, if not most of them, that's why they're into knives, right? They're into knives because they want the better, they want the quality, you know, even if it's the affordable quality, they still want to know that where their money's going is to quality and not crap. Will B says, Recman, part of River's Edge Cutlery, is setting up to do OEM work. They already make hardware for an American manufacturer. Awesome. Hopefully that works out, you know, moving forward.
There's a lot of kind of in the background of the industry, there's people setting up to try to do this.
Yeah, I know a couple companies that are working on it too, but it's a ways out though, you know.
It's a ways out. No one's like pumping it out. Like there's really nowhere today you can go like, okay, here's my drawing on paper. Have your engineers generate for me a full CAD model and then produce a prototype for me in 90 days for X amount of dollars, and then have a production run of 300 pieces in 4 months. It's not there yet.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you know, hopefully we do see it, because I would love to see more manufacturing being brought back to the USA, you know, but like you said, we're just not there yet. But it is something that I do think some companies are working towards, which is what we want, right? As long as there's companies that are working towards it in the future. And sometimes, and I know that a lot of companies are doing this, where they're doing what they have to do overseas to get the funds, the money up, and, you know, to be able to get, you know, all the networking done and everything, so that they can eventually do something in the USA.
Yeah, and you know, it's the skill set to make knives in the USA. That's not the skill set I currently possess. Like, you have to be a machinist. You have to know how to run those machines, build fixtures, how to set up the operations to build those parts. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
And then you need to know how to grind blades. So if you're not going to machine grind blades, which is really the only way to get production numbers, but then people got to grind by hand. Well, that takes years to learn.
Or have a company that does them for you, and you got
or have a company. Right. And then you don't have the quality control potentially that you would want.
And you can't make it as affordable as you want.
That's right. So it's a really, like, knives are hard to make. They're not like we're just making a part and we make 100 of the parts. We got to make something that not only, you know, all the parts are to specification, but it has to feel and sound right. And, you know, holy crap, are we demanding?
Well, I heard Greg Medford was talking about it, you know, and like, we look at things like rockets go to the moon and everything. Like, how hard can a knife be? And he talks about it like you wouldn't believe the level of tolerances some of these knives have. That like it's so tight, it's so precise, the precision of everything lining up so perfectly. It's like doing something like that, you know, to where, you know, we're getting a lot out of knives these days. Like, we're kind of in a special time right now. Knives have gone so far in 20 years, like, it's insane. Glenn Elder is asking, will we ever see a Magna Cut or Van X?
So with Magna Cut, the way you would get a Magna Cut made in China is you have to buy it here, ship it to a domestic destination, and then reship it to China. Like, Crucible or their dealers won't ship it to China. So, okay, we've already taken an expensive steel and made it even more expensive by double shipping it. And then to make that worth it, you probably have to buy a freaking pallet of it. You know, so like, I'm not saying never, but I'm just not big enough to do that yet. As far as Van X goes, I don't really know much about that steel, to be honest.
It's tough to get. It's tough to get.
Yeah.
Like, it's very expensive, and I don't think that there's a lot out there. I know there's a couple companies using it and running with it, but to my knowledge that it runs out. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but from what I hear is, like, a lot of companies don't use it because they can't get enough of it. They can't, like, it's not a steel that they can say we always have enough. They're always going to wind up running out and things like that. So that's just what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. But I didn't know there was a parody. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think they were talking about something else.
Yeah, S90V is so good. Why change it? I agree. I love S90V. So,
you know, and my personal preference, again, I'm always balancing market demand with my preferences. Like, I'm not necessarily a steel guy. Like, my collection was all slip joints, 1095 and CPM 154, you know, whereas like Spyderco collectors got used to, you know, sprint runs with all kinds of boutique steels. That was just something that was never available to me. Where I'm a little more interested in is like different handle materials and scales. I've been working on that for like a year, and I can tell you, boy, was that humbling, realizing that those are not always easy to implement if the manufacturer doesn't have experience with it. Because, dude, things move when you machine it, or the finish isn't right, or it chips, or
you might take a little bit of a loss at first to work it out and work out the hiccups and everything to get to know
it. So, like, okay, if I'm trying to improve my handle material selection and I'm taking risk switching steels every month or two, it's man,
you can't do that. I wouldn't even expect you to do that. Like, I think that just sounds insane. I think you should figure out something that works, something that's good, stick with it for a while, and then if later on you want to introduce something, that's fine. But it at least gives the company enough time to work with the stuff, figure it out. Because what you don't want, the worst thing to do is say, okay, we're just going to run with this steel. Well, then it comes, it's got heat treat problems, it's burnt, you know, there's microchipping issues. And then now it's like, fuck, we got all these knives and they're all screwed because we rushed into this steel that the company didn't know how to use. So
exactly. And that shit warps too, you know? And like, okay, so they heat treat it and it seems okay, but then they start grinding blades and it's like, shit. It's like, there goes the timetable, blown it, right?
Chicago 23 says, is quiet carry done using Vanex? No, I don't think so. I just think that they can't get enough to fill all their knives. I think they can only get enough for their the waypoints. I don't know if that's true, like 100%, but I would imagine that if they could, they would use it like on the 9 and things like that. But the fact that they're not, I think they can only just get enough. Because this is just what I've heard. I don't know how true all this is, but I just heard that it's just difficult to get. Like even Tactile, I believe, said that to get Vanex like constantly like that, it's just it's not a promise. So, and when you're trying to pump out so many knives, you want a promised steel, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a business, like you got an obligation to, you know, whoever the owner has an obligation to its employees and to the community to get knives out there. And so if, well, we're going to stop our whole production while we wait for this batch of Vanex to come, like, you know, it doesn't really add up, unfortunately. It's like, if I could get the Vanex, I'd sell you the Vanex, you know?
But man, like I said, I think S9EV is so good, and it seems like you guys are doing a good job with it. I'm very happy with it.
You know, there's a lot of S9. So I had 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th S9DV drop. So that's a lot of units out into the wild now, getting used every day. And no breakages, no chips that I'm aware of. I had one guy break a tip in a pill bottle on his FEELGOOD because he pried with it in this, this tiny, thin little thing. You know, that's it.
Well, I was curious using mine. I was curious if I was going to see any microchipping because it's so thin, right? And none. It's been great. I've honed it back a couple times, but that's to be expected because I used it so much. But yeah, no, everything's super solid on it. Even through the belly where I was really, you know, being a little brutal and it's super thin, it's perfectly fine. No microchipping at all, which is really good because I can't say that for a lot of other knives, you know. So
and if I got a steel that's meeting people's performance expectations, I'm much more inclined to stick with it because it's doing its job. And I know people want to have different steels in their collections, and I'm totally sensitive to like the collector sentiment. But with the steel, it's like, man, we're asking for trouble if we're switching that around too much.
Right. Mark P asks, what's the best edge for S9DV? So with S9DV, the best edge is going to be a toothy edge. Now, you can put a mirror polished edge on there. It will take it. But what it does is it doesn't hold as well as a toothy edge. So while it can take it and it'll hold fairly well, like if you're not doing like a ton of cutting, you can do a mirror polished edge, but the best edge on S9DV is always going to be toothy. So if you did like an edge retention test, a toothy edge is going to outperform a polished edge in S9DV. So that's usually the best case. I would go personally with me. I like between 400 and 600 grit for S9DV, but you know, you can go up a little bit higher if you want. I do have some that have polished edges that hold it pretty good, but not like, you know, a toothy edge.
I'm a big fan of a toothy edge, dude. It just bites.
Yeah, absolutely. I got worried that I would snap something when I hit my cutting board because it was flexing, but all good. Yeah, I don't mind seeing that little bit of flex because it just tells you how thin that shit is.
Yeah, man, you can actually bend these.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But
I can bend it. Flex it, not bend it.
It's almost like the thing you're cutting is non-existent.
Yeah.
It's so thin.
You know, we talk about this sometimes, but guys, like geometry arguably more important than whatever steel you're using. You could have the most high performance steel, but if it's a wedge, it's going to underperform versus something with unbelievable geometry and maybe an older steel formulation.
Yes. Yeah. You'd be surprised like how much the edge retention changes with geometry. Like the thinner it goes, the better the edge retention goes. Obviously toughness goes down. So, you know, there's still a balance you want, but yeah, you'd be surprised how much, like if you have thicker geometry, how dramatic your edge retention goes down when it's super thick. Jared has a video. Yes, I do have a video. Thank you, Bob Smith. I do have a video going through all the steels and what type of edge should go on each steel, or at least the best. What angle is on the Gunslinger? Do you know what angle it is? I'm going to guess 25 degrees. That's what I'm going to guess.
You tell me.
I'm guessing 25. You wouldn't want it. See, this is the thing. When you have this thin of geometry, you can go with high angle and it's going to be still slicey. You don't have to go like when it's thick, like say a spider co, say if it's 20 thousandths behind the edge, you can go 15 degrees per side because it's thick. So it has the edge stability. When it's this thin, you don't want a super low angle. So I wouldn't even go under 20 degrees with something like this.
Yeah,
Just,
18 is pushing it. You can do it, but just be mindful that your edge is going to be more fragile. I think 2022 is money on these things.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And dude, even when it's dull, it's still going to cut good.
That's a fact. Even when these things are dull, you will get it through the material.
Yeah.
It's just the geometry is there.
Yeah.
That's one of my preferences, and I'm glad guys are into it because there's a lot of thick knives out there, and it's like, hey, that's one thing I got spoiled on slip joints customs is that 3 millimeter blade stock about 1/8, but boy, do they bring them thin behind the edge. It's
hollow,
like, fuck, man, these things
it looks
cut
good too.
Crazy. It does. It does.
I love it. I love that satin finish. But even Steve Kalari, he did some videos with some of his knives where he's got them down, 3 to 5, 6 thousandths behind the edge, and he hasn't even sharpened it yet. There's no edge on it at all. It's just been ground, and he's sitting there chopping onions, but it looks like it's sharp. Like you would think that's a sharpened edge, but then he shows you afterwards that it's not even sharp. It's just the geometry cuts, That's super cool to see this geometry with S90V. I agree, man. I 100% agree. It's like a pretty girl with pretty hair in a tough John Wick gunslinger.
Hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah. So we're about to close it off here in just a couple minutes. So you want to say anything to the people of like, well, you know what? Let's go back over. You got I'm sure there's still some left. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, so we dropped the Gunslinger Jack on Friday. It's the first JACKWOLF knife, locking knife. It's a bolster lock gun stock design, complete with a pocket clip and an included pocket clip plug if you want a leather slip carry. We're down to a couple of leather slips left in the tobacco color, available at jackwolfknives.com. We also sell skiff bearings, not a required upgrade, but for someone who just wants the best bearing on the market, there you go. As far as the knives themselves, they're available at our authorized dealers. That link is on the top of my website. If you go up to the top there, and then there's the 3 bars, it'll pull up a menu, and there's the authorized dealer page.
There you go.
And all the colors other than gold are still available. If you go to Blade HQ and DLT and Knife Center, they're gone. That doesn't mean they're gone
one
everywhere.
Color left right now.
Yeah.
But most of them are gone. Do you know exactly which one right now has all colors?
Yeah, I got a spreadsheet. I could pull it up.
I didn't know if you knew one right off the top of your head. You could just tell.
Yeah, check out Freight and Lock. FRA. Yeah, Freight and Lock. Like they're a lock and safe store in Syracuse, New York, but they're been a Spyderco dealer for dude. They've been a Spyderco dealer for decades. They're big in that community. The lady who's in charge is named Hope. She's super cool.
I'm gonna have to get a hold of them. That sounds cool.
Yeah, so you can check out Freight and Lock, and that's it. If anybody needs anything, you want to reach out to JACKWOLF Knives, you're actually reaching out to me. I'm the owner, the operator. I will deal with you directly. I will do whatever I can to help you. And join our Facebook group, JACKWOLF Knives Worldwide. Worldwide is one word. We're almost at 1,000 people. We're going to do a coin when we hit 1,000 people. And it's a great community.
Awesome, man. Ben, thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks
Everybody,
for the invite.
Thank you guys for joining. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you guys for all the super chats and all the great conversations. Until next time, peace.